It's Dave's Life Over 65. This is the next day. I recorded the video yesterday and then I went out to a coffee shop with my brother-in-law. I stopped off at a local drugstore called Shoppers Drug Mart where they sell food, and the store was jammed, but everybody was in the food section trying to find stuff. There was like almost a fist fight over a couple of rolls of toilet paper. So the panic is in full swing. Um, I guess with the World Health Organization upgrading to pandemic um, status, it's spooked a lot of people. So it's going to be crazy. I'm glad I've got everything I need, so I don't have to fight the crowds at the grocery stores. I suspect maybe later on tonight, just for a laugh, I'll pop into the same No Frills that I was at yesterday and just take some pictures. I mean, shoot some video of the shelves. I suspect a lot of them will be depleted. The staples, cans, bread, milk, everything like that will be probably gone, but we'll see. So if I get a chance, I'll pop in and add that to the video. Okay, I haven't looked at any videos yet or any information yet from the World Health Organization on actual infections. I heard on the radio last night that there were 17 new cases in Toronto. That's a lot, so we'll see what happens. Anyways, stay tuned for more information. My best advice at this point is if you haven't restocked your pantry, then good luck, and stay calm. Uh, you might want to consider canceling any plans to go to the mall or any place where a lot of people gather, because this kind of panicking will cause people to go out that would normally not go out. So, and again, if you have a March break planned, I would strongly, strongly, strongly advise that you do not fly anywhere. But it's your life and your family. Also, the same thing would apply to anybody that has plans on going on a cruise for the March break. That is pretty serious. I understand in Toronto, the school board has decided to close the schools for an additional week after the March break. So that'll give it 3 weeks for the kids to not be in school, which will probably help matters. We'll see. Anyways, here's the video from last night. Okay, welcome to Dave's Life Over 65, and thank you for watching. Well, as I've been predicting, the panic has begun, although it's a little tamer than what I fully expected, but it is not in full swing yet. Today, March the 12th, we've been advised that actually it was yesterday, the World Health Organization is referring to the COVID-19 as a pandemic, and that word will strike fear into everybody. And the uninformed and easily spooked will get very, how can I put this, stupid, and they'll rush the food stores and the gas stations and any place they think they might need to get something to get them through a 2-week or more period of isolation. I'll comment more on that in a minute. Excuse me. Sorry about that. I have a frog in my throat. I don't know if it's a coronavirus. I doubt it. But you never know. I don't have any other symptoms, but if I had, at least in Ontario, unlike the United States, where the president has totally ignored the issue of the COVID-19 virus and done nothing to prepare the country for an epidemic of this magnitude, which just goes to show you what an idiot President Trump really is. Hopefully this will end his presidency. People will see through this moron and I don't know. Maybe his own party will find a replacement for him. On our side of the border, I must admit that as much as I detest Justin Trudeau, he is beginning to show a little bit of responsibility in that he is talking about making available funds for people who have to stay off work because of being infected or somebody in their family being infected, et cetera, et cetera. And that's a very positive move. You will not see any American do that because they're more interested in profits than they are people. But that's just the way of the United States. Rant over. All right. Here are some facts as of the 12th. Speaking of Trump, I understand on March the 19th, which is a 19th, a week from today, they're going to have a rally in Wisconsin. I think it's Wisconsin. Yeah. This was announced only 2 days after the Robert Redfield from the Center for Disease Control recommended that large gatherings, like hockey games, basketball games, that sort of thing, that they be avoided. And as a result, a lot of the sports networks, the NBA, a lot of the sports networks have closed public venues. In other words, the games will be suspended. They were going to they were still going to have games, but you could only watch them on TV. But with, I think it was one of the NBA players tested positive, they decided that it would be prudent to just stop having all large sporting events altogether. And that was a very prudent move. Here in Canada, we haven't really closed an awful lot. There are recommendations coming down from non-governmental sources that schools, daycare centers, anywhere where there is a crowding of people. Now, this wouldn't be a stadium event type thing, but it's still, when you have a lot of children all crammed into a very small space, it can be dangerous under these circumstances. They're looking into that. The other thing about this rally that Trump is planning, when he was questioned about it by a reporter, instead of addressing the issue of having a rally of who knows how many thousand people, he totally sidestepped the issue, as he's quite adept at doing, and spoke only about now's a good time to build the wall between the United States and Canada. Well, here's some facts I just pulled off the internet a few minutes ago. The COVID-19 as of March 12th, 2020, globally there's 118,391 reported infections. That's 4,620 new cases being reported. I'm sorry I didn't get here it is. The death count at this point is 280. I don't think that includes China. Locally in Canada, we have close to 100. Depending on which website you go to, it's between 93 and 98. So I'll say close to 100. We have 16 new infections this week, with one locally transmitted disease. Now, exactly what do they mean by locally? What they mean by locally is it can't be traced back to another country, that it was transmitted right here in good old Canada. Okay, so that's the disease itself, the virus. That's the reality as of the 12th of March. And that means that things are getting serious. Now in Canada, when you think about it, of the 118,000 people, less than 100 are infected in Canada. Now that's either one of two things. One, because we are not as heavily populated as the rest of the world, and the population densities are far less than even the United States. Maybe that's why we don't have so many, or maybe it's because of the fact that we are taking precautionary steps to avoid large groupings of people where it can be transmitted. And the other major factor, which I'm sure is a positive factor, is that the free and public access to testing is available. So anybody that feels they may have the symptoms of the COVID-19 are advised to stay in their home, and a team will come out to their location and test them, and the results are very quickly available. So that way you know if it's safe, and everybody in the family will be tested. Okay, so the virus in Canada is still, well, to quote an official from the Canada Health people, they're saying that we are at the very beginning of the pandemic, and if we continue and in fact improve our precautionary measures, this whole thing can be avoided in Canada. That of course means that we will have to start thinking seriously about limiting cross-border entry. My personal opinion is all Americans should be banned from entering Canada temporarily, with possible exceptions being commercial vehicles, necessary things for commerce, that sort of thing. But as far as just having massive amounts of people cross our border, I don't know. Somebody told me this. I haven't had a chance to verify it yet, but they said that something like 80,000 people cross our border each and every day. Again, I don't know if that number is inflated or what, but if that is the case, we want to stop that. The threat from the coronavirus is real. You just need to look at Italy, China, all the countries that have large infections. Incidentally, if you want to find the latest information on the number of infections, the number of new infections, and the number of deaths, you can go to your favorite browser or Google and just Google COVID-19 deaths, and that will take you to a page where you can get the most up-to-date information as to what's going on in the world. You can also do the same thing and add your country or your province or even your city and see what the information is for that. Okay, now let's move on to what I was talking about last week in my last video. I'm not sure if I said it, but I've certainly been thinking it lately. The biggest threat we have from the COVID-19 situation is not necessarily the virus. Even if you contact the virus, the death rate is fairly low, especially nowadays. It's not like the Spanish influenza, which was a coronavirus type, where millions of people have died. I mean, this has been ongoing for about a week and a half, and even in China where it started, the number of deaths, although they're higher than anywhere else, which is normal because there's been more infections than anywhere else, but the actual death rate is quite low. So that means even if you get it, it's quite possible that you'll be able to weather it out. The important thing being is if you find out you have it, don't go to work, don't go to a school, don't go to the hospital unless you're really, really, really sick. If you're in Canada, take the advice of the Health Canada people who will come and test you as to what you should be doing. Hopefully you took my advice and the advice of other preppers, I'm not a prepper by the way, and stocked up for just this kind of scenario. I suspect the hysteria and panic that will result as of the fact that the WHO has now used that word that nobody wanted to hear, which is pandemic. Pandemic. I mean, I've seen it, our local newspaper has flashed it across the front of their page in, I don't know, like it took up half the page. There hasn't been that size of font use since the war ended in 1945. So Okay, I'm going to rant a little bit here. The media anywhere in North America are not interested at all in your health, your welfare, or your happiness. All they're interested in is making money. So they're going to do whatever they can to get people to read their newspapers or watch their shows. And that means inflating and causing panic. When there's panic, they love it. Okay, complete. Back to the panic that's coming. I'll include a couple of videos I took last week, and on Tuesday, in my local No Frills, which is a bargain, supposedly a bargain grocery shopping if you're watching from the States. And the only things they were low on was toilet paper. The toilet paper racks were entirely empty. There wasn't one roll to be found in No Frills. However, one No Frills, I have a neighbor who's unable to drive to to do shopping, so I take her and she shops at a big No Frills, and there they had 5 large gaylords of, do I have any here? No, sanitizer, and which shocked me. Now these sanitizers were, one of the store staff was telling me were available a couple of weeks ago for $1.92. They're now $5.92. Fine, it's their business. I don't fault them at all for raising the price for 2 reasons. One, it's their business, they can do what they want, and 2, it may just deter people from buying 100. Do you need 100? I don't think so. Do you need 35 cases of toilet paper? I doubt it. The average period, from what I understand, for the coronavirus is 2 weeks for the symptoms to become apparent, and then it varies on the severity of the case. It can be 2 weeks to a month for the recovery. Now, I don't know how long the panic's going to last, but I suspect it'll be like any other panic we've seen in the past. There'll be an initial stampede of idiots trying to get there first and stock their pantries when they should have done this 2 weeks ago. And when they do get into the stores, they'll overbuy. They'll buy 30 of something when they really only need, 10 or 15 at the very most. But that sort of panic buying will probably cease very quickly. Once the stores are empty and people stop panicking and rushing in hordes to the store, they'll find other ways to acquire what they need: food, sanitizing products, and whatnot. What I find interesting is that people are buying water. One of the things that was, let me go into that. The No Frills where I shop, what they were out of course, was toilet paper. That particular store where I shop is just a little store. It didn't have any. It didn't have any hand sanitizers. Didn't have any alcohol. Didn't have any Lysol wipes. Let's see. But what surprised me is people cleared the shelves of things like cup of soup. Meanwhile, right underneath the cup of soup part were huge bags of white beans, the kind that you can make baked beans with, and there's all kinds of recipes on the internet that you can find on how to do that. I bought a bunch that I think should last me for, if things really got bad and we were locked out. That's the first time I've ever heard that term in regards to a epidemic. Locked out. Lockdown. That's like you're in jail. Like that's where our society has gone. But anyways, that's another topic for another day. So I'm seeing this coming and taking the advice of people like in the States, the urban prepper, and in Canada, the Canadian prepper. I went out and rationally decided what I thought I would need to get by on 2 weeks and stocked my house up. As I said in a couple of videos back, I don't have the kind of cash that it would take to, you know, stock in enough for months and months and months. I don't know what I'd do if it actually went that long. I know we wouldn't be able to count on our governments. Um, I'm going to touch on the economic issues that are bound to hit in the very near future, in fact, have hit today. I just listened to the stock market report on the way home from a coffee shop that I was at. And I was quite shocked to hear that this is the worst day the stock market has ever experienced. And I would assume that includes the 1929 stock market crash. Well, the 1929 stock market crash, everything crashed. The stocks and bonds, all the investment futures and stuff like that, and also the banks. So far, that's me touching wood. It hasn't hit its. It hasn't accelerated into the banking machines, and I could kick myself for not taking money out of the bank tonight. In fact, I might just go back out today and take out a prudent amount of cash just to have it on hand, just in case. In fact, I might do that real soon. Anyways, this stock market thing, we had that a few days ago, and then there was a massive rebound, and then there was a crash today, and there'll probably be a massive rebound tomorrow. Or at some point it might just crash and stay crashed. If that happens, a lot of things are going to happen. For example, we may see what happened in Greece a few years ago, where they just simply turn off all the banking machines. Hopefully that doesn't happen in Canada, but it just might. So it might be prudent to, just get some pocket cash and put it in the drawer somewhere. The other economic factor that's going to hit us, or in fact already has hit us, is the number of people who are staying home in fear of contacting the COVID-19 virus. And some people are staying home just because they don't want to get the COVID-19 virus. I don't know how that's going to go over pay-wise, but our Prime Minister has made some noises about reimbursing people who are told to stay home, not people who decide to stay home. Okay, now, assuming that the worst case scenario happens with the stock market and the banking system, that would mean that the use of banking machines and going into the bank and getting cash may or may not, most likely would be suspended for an indefinite amount of time. That means even if the grocery stores are able to restock, you may not be able to get food or water because you simply don't have funds. So if you're in an area where the bank machines are still working, get some cash right now. Go out, hit the stop button on this video, go get your buns out there and get some cash and put it in a safe place in your home, just in case. You can always put it back in later or use it out of pocket instead of your credit card. So enough on the economics. Now let's talk about the social issues. This virus will change our way of socializing. It's been, in North America at least, it's been quite common for people to shake hands on greeting each other. I have noticed in the last couple of days, people aren't even fist bumping. Now they're elbow bumping, and pretty soon that'll go away. I think you'll see a lot more socializing being done via the internet and smartphones and stuff. Not that there's not a lot of socializing done off that medium anyways, but what little there is will probably go away. So this may be the end of face-to-face meetings. This could, short-term, turn us into a, excuse me, what's the term I'm looking for? Okay, I found the word. I'm thinking of xenophobes, I mean. xenophobic. This may make our society even more xenophobic, meaning we won't want to actually sit down across from another human being. I suspect that this will not be the last epidemic we see with the 21st century and the ability to go anywhere in the world in a few hours is going to make the spread of disease and pandemics or epidemics or whatever much easier, and I think will result in a lot of countries are going to be very xenophobic about allowing people from other countries into their country, especially if it's a country like China that has very poor sanitation and very poor management of infectious diseases. So that'll be one of the social changes that we may see. And as more and more of these epidemics and pre-epidemics occur, the fact that the point of people trying to get together in face-to-face meetings, other than maybe just your own family, in fact, even including your own family, when I think of it before this COVID-19 scare came out, with a few exceptions, there's very few people in my family that I actually see on a regular basis on a face-to-face method, although we do seem to keep in touch on Facebook and texting and sending people pictures that we've made and things like that. But actually getting there and sitting down for a supper or to watch a movie is very rare. Anywho, I'll include just a clip or two of my visit to the No Frills Shopping Center. I only filmed the toilet paper aisle because that was the one that was most prominent. The entire length of the aisle, well, half the length of the aisle was devoted only to toilet paper. The other half was for paper towels, and there was plenty of paper towels. And Kleenex, there was lots of Kleenex too. So, but the toilet paper was gone, and they don't know when they're going to get it back in. I had a previous video before where I showed the contents of the toilet paper aisle, and they were empty a week and a half ago. But they got more in, and they sold those all out in a couple of hours. So we'll probably see that and other items becoming very scarce on the shelf. The good news for us preppers is that most people don't know what they need, haven't got a clue about emergency preparedness, and don't know that there's all kinds of things that you can buy that the average panicked person would never think of buying. For example, let's say you can't get a hold of any Lysol wipes or Lysol spray. There are lots of other products that you can get. If you want to do hand sanitizers, if you can find various forms of dishwashing lotion that has antibacterial functions. That'll work fairly well. Of course, Health Canada suggested merely washing your hands on a regular basis is enough. But when you're out going around outside the nuclear family's residence, you're not likely going to be in too many places where you can wash your hands every 5 minutes. So hand sanitizer is a good idea. I've had some ideas about what to do if you can't get any hand sanitizers. Of course, just buy a bottle of alcohol, even the lower quality alcohol that you can see in dollar stores, which are incidentally are all sold out as well. But if you can find some, it would be, anything 50% and up will work. It just takes a little longer. The other things you can do is get your hands on some nitrate gloves and wear gloves. Now, you get a warning about that. If you're wearing gloves, these nitrate gloves, I actually got these for my late wife, for me to use with my late wife. How many did we get? Does it say? Probably not. It's probably on the part that I removed. Industrial gloves, not for medical use. Oh. I didn't see that. Well, they're better than nothing. I suppose they, oh, 100. So there's 100 of these. And I think that's one of the best protections you can get, because when you get home, you can peel off the gloves, go in and wash your hands. And see what I just did? Unconsciously. Even if you're wearing these gloves and you reach up and rub your eye, I have washed my hands, by the way. That's a bad situation, but if you wear the rubber gloves and refrain from touching your face or your nose or your mouth, more than likely the chances of transmitting the disease from touching something like an elevator button or public, a rail on a public, like an escalator or something, is fairly limited. And they think that that's where the majority of cases of infections are actually occur. Now, some of them we know have come from flying in an airplane where the air is circulated continuously and not filtered or sanitized in any way. So, by the way, if you're gonna, you might want to consider canceling any plans of flying anywhere unless you absolutely have to. And for God's sakes, don't go on a cruise. Hello. I know it's March break and I know you want to go somewhere and have fun, but it's just not worth the risk, in my opinion. So that's about all I have for this particular installment. I'm going to wait and see. I think tomorrow is going to be the big test, because the newscast, most people are waiting to get home to watch the 6 o'clock news, and the panic will probably, if it hasn't already, will start at some point after that. So, best regards to everybody. I usually say, please click the like button and be safe and all that stuff. But tonight I'll just say, yes, be safe, but at the same time, think healthy. Think healthy. Bye for now. Oh, my button's not working. I'm back. Let's see, it's 11 after 23:11, we'll say, on the 13th, Friday the 13th. And I got out to the stores, as I said, about an hour ago. And most of the grocery stores were closed, so I couldn't get in to check them. But I did go into some of the all-nighters, and there's one that's open till midnight. I went into that one, and it wasn't very busy. The parking lot was pretty much empty, as were the shelves. Of course, there was no toilet paper. There was no Lysol wipes. There was no Lysol spray. There was no what else? Even in the water was there. Most of the water was gone. I don't know why people are hoarding water, because I don't see the taps running dry anytime soon. But anyways, I talked to some of the employees, and they were saying that when they started their shift, things were pretty crazy, but they did calm down. So we'll see what happens. The news is not promising. You've probably been following it. A friend of mine texted me to say that since there's no sports to watch, everybody's watching the news, which is not a good thing. Anywho, we'll check back with you next time I shoot a video. Ta-ta for now.